रहे हैं जी न्यूज 18, हर खबर का सच यानी पूरा सच।
राजनीतिक दुनिया की हर पंक्ति खबरें, अपराध पर कस्ता शिकंजा, किसने किया भ्रष्टाचार और कौन है अपराधी, हर खबर का सच यानी पूरा सच। देखना ना जी न्यूज 18 पर, सिर्फ मेरे साथ।
I feel delighted more than anything else to announce on this day something called the Pancham legacy. I mean, I have not discovered it, it's already been there. The legacy has been around for a long time, and I think that I am just trying to concretize it. Just like 10 years back, what I did was concretize things in the form of this film, Pancham Unmixed. It was at that point of time, being a huge Panchamda fan, admirer, student, whatever you call, it would trouble me that every 27th June and 4th of January, suddenly media would rise, news channels would have 5-minute, 7-minute capsules saying Panchamda was genius, Panchamda was ahead of his times and things like that, and play a few clips and move out. So what was this genius? Why was he ahead of his times? There was no concerted attempt to understand that, and what I did in those 3 years of concrete work was try and do that. I went through huge pains, huge troubles, but the way the film took off in 2008 is something that I never expected, and 10 years later we have crossed 400 invited screenings. In the first couple of years it did some 40 international festivals, all kinds of recognitions, and the best part was the way people have responded to the film. We have about 3,000 testimonials of what people have reached out to us and said how they feel about the film. Nobody says what they think, they always say what they feel about the film, most of them. And that process continues, and 10 years later it still seems young. It's become lessons for so many people. It's become a huge hit with corporate screenings somehow. Experimentation and creativity and man management and emotional intelligence and whatnot. So with all that, the journey, like she said, knowing Pancham was an extension of the same thing about 4 years back. And now I thought that legacy can be a never-ending series. So let me just start it off, though it has a lot of people, because because the way people come back to you, and like I was telling Shantanu Moitra here that, you know, just if I just count on the number of people who have blessed me to make this film, I think that far supersedes any 200 crore film that you will ever make, you know. And so it's a great pleasure to have some of the people here who were part of that 10-year back journey, and I'd want them to one by one just come here for a little talk and session. To begin with, I'd start with Shantanu Moitra. He is one of the, other than one of the best composers of our times. Other than that, I consider him one of the finest scholars on Salilda and R.D. Burman, two at least, and maybe more. Whenever you speak to him about folk, about photography, he can, I mean, it's hours that pass by and you don't know where they have gone. So great to have you here, and great to have you in the film. From that same lot, Leslie also. Leslie, please come. I had taken Leslie in that film for a very specific reason. I needed a segment in the film which spoke about the continuation. And I thought that nobody better than Leslie, because he was the first one to do the remix, first or second one, I think. Right, yes. And much more than that, in fact, which he'll tell you yourself best, that even before Pancham Da had passed away, he had shared a lot of things with Leslie, that he wanted to do his own remixes. And he said that, and you should do my remix and things like that. So that's again a huge honor. Hats off, Pancham Da himself telling you. A lot of Shantanu's understanding also comes from Guldar Sahab, because he's very close to Guldar Sahab, and Guldar Sahab was of course legendary there. A couple of other very good composers of the current era. Shamir Tandon, please come and join. And Sandesh Shandelia, again one of those silent composers who creates wonderful gems. So again, thank you very much for being here. And I would like to invite a couple of more people here. One is Vivek Vaswani. Can you join? Again, Vivek is a Pancham encyclopedia. You know, he'll tell you which year, which film released. You know, there are lots of people who have compiled books on Pancham Das, you know, who was the Vishwas Nerurkar and people like that, who you can go any film, any year. With Vivek around, you don't have to do that. Okay, you ask Vivek and he has his own journey. Nandini, would you please come? And Nandini is one of the brightest singers that we have today. I had the fortune of her singing in a film that I did recently, which Sandesh composed. And I would like to invite Chaitanya Padukone. Now Chaitanya needs a special introduction. The introduction is that he's, other than being a very, very veteran journalist, he's someone who was very close to Pancham Da in his last years, you know, in fact for a long period. But those low phase of Pancham Da, he would go sit, spend time, and you can understand when he had very few people to talk to, the kind of things that Chaitanya is aware of, you know, is absolutely phenomenal. And he's a music person himself, so he understands those things even musically, not just as a report or an, you know, information, something like that. I'd like to invite Shibani. Again, a phenomenal singer. Yes, thank you. And come. So I think we are expecting a few more people. If they come, they will just join. But I would like to unveil the legacy thing. We can just have one-on-one outside or inside. What's the plan? Outside. We can have it outside also. Okay. So I think so. We'll get done in about say about 10 minutes of each one talking a little bit, and about 5-6 minutes of seeing the promo. Okay. So, okay. So Sonu, please if you can join here.
Who has to start? Please, Sonu.
Yes. Done. Okay.
इसको मेरे को अरे वो तो विजुअली ले लेगा ना और क्या करें वैसे भी ऑडियो दिया नहीं वैसे भी ऑडियो तो है नहीं
Big congratulations to Brahma. With a name like that, of course, he's conquered the world with his beautiful film. And I think no performance of mine is complete without doing a lovely set of all Pancham Da songs, which is everlasting, evergreen, and I think the best ever anywhere in the world. So I'll just say big congratulations and big hand for Brahma.
So I think I'm the one of the few people who have not met him. The work is out of question. So I'm like Eklavya. I've watched him from far. I've understood and interacted with people who knew him. So my knowledge is that of a fan. And but what I can tell you one thing is that 10 years back when Brahmanan came to do this interview and film, he was as clueless as me. He was just taking a bite and wondering कि कुछ होगा, कुछ बनेगा. I'm sure this was beyond his wildest dream where this incredible documentary has reached. And that is the biggest gift that Pancham has given him and to all of us. He says he's brought us together thanks to this film. Otherwise we don't even meet. I think this is one of the great things that R.D. Burman has done. And from my personally, I can tell you one thing, that every song is a struggle for a composer because of the composition, because of the way that he has pulled off. It's also a big tribute to the people who are around him, all the directors and producers who allowed that kind of a genius composition to take place. I think it's a big how to say, it's an applause to that era, that time, who recognized that genius and allowed that genius to perform. I'm very happy that Pancham is not here today because he would have been in trouble. Thank you.
Well, hello everybody. All I can say is I've been really lucky along my journey with Pancham Da because my dad, P. L. Raj, who has been a choreographer, so Sholay, Sargam, Dawn, all those films, one day when I was maybe 6 or 7 years old, he took me to meet S.D. Burman. So I was this kid, and then, you know, Senior Burman called out, Pancham, and then one guy walked in with glasses, these soda water bottle glasses. And I was the kid, and my dad spoke. He introduced him to my dad, and I was just the bystand guy. And that's the first time I saw him, met him. Years later, as I grew up, and when I must have been like 9, 10, 11, I would go to his house when they were composing, and I would sit with my dad, and I was like that, again, offside guy. That, you know, but I was really interested in recording, so they would be recording all the compositions as they were arranging, composing. So I was just really interested, and so of course he knew me, and then later on I became a professional musician, and then I got to play for him, and I had one super moment where about 40, 50, 60 musicians used to play together at that time, so I was one more musician, and there was a chai break generally about 11 o'clock, and that day everybody moved out of the studio, and I was just sitting with my guitar, and I had composed some piece, you know, I was still going on in my head, and there was no one in the studio, and as I kept playing that piece, suddenly the piano started playing the same piece, trying to figure out what the notes are, and I said, oh, somebody's behind the piano trying to figure my composition out. And then he got it, and then he stood up, and then I saw Pancham Da. He was sitting there and just looked at me and says, super. And wow, what a shot in my arm, you know, as a composer, when he tells you super. And what, I must have been 18, 19, at that time. And then years later, so then I played for him, and then years later, to be told that he had just passed away, and then he had apparently, he wanted to do all his music for the next generation, and he had told Asha ji that he wants to do it with me. Leslie के साथ काम करके मुझे मेरा ही म्यूजिक एक नई जनरेशन के लिए करना है. And I was shocked. I said, of all the people in the world, why me? He could have chosen anybody. But he had just passed away, and you know, Asha ji asked me, "Tum karoge kya?" I said, "Where's the question of saying no?" So that's how Rahul and I came out, and that was my tribute to Pancham Da and Asha ji, of course. And so all I can say is, been one of the luckiest kids in town, and I'm still lucky because, like Shibani says, you know, when we perform, there's always some R.D. Burman song somewhere there pushing the audience today, 2018. So it's still rocking. Thank you.
Little proximity with the Mangeshkar family, and specifically Asha Bhosle ji. I have lived a lot of Pancham Da through Asha ji, because every time I meet with her, and I meet with her very often, and we're dining or we're just traveling the country doing something, she gives me stories galore of what she has learned from Asha, from Pancham Da. And I have seen that, I think one of us mentioned that, of course, he's musically a god and a musical genius and whatever else, but myself being a student of management, I think Pancham Da was a god of management as well. Because I'll just tell you one instance, and then there are stories galore which could be shared later. But when I was doing my first film called Page 3, I sent a song to Asha ji, who was in San Francisco in 2002, when internet was not all that, it wasn't the way it is today. And I wrote a mail to her saying, I would like you to sing it. I'm sending you the files. So she immediately called me from there and said, okay, I'm singing it, but it's going to be for the first time but there's going to be no composer, no lyricist, nobody around me, you know. So she sang it and she sent it back to me, and when she came back to India from San Francisco, she said कि मैंने इसलिए गाया तुम्हारा गाना because मुझे पंचम ने कहा था कि if you don't shape up, you will ship out. कि वक्त के साथ अगर आप आगे नहीं चले, because she said when the first time musicians के साथ गाना खत्म हुआ था और वो हेडफोन शुरू हुआ था और मेल सिंगर पहले गा रहा है, फीमेल बाद में गा रही है, तो Pancham Da had told her that if you don't acclimatize yourself with the changing environment, you will be out of business. So she said that thing is stuck in my head. So, you know, I mean, this is just one of the things, but there are millions of things that I've heard from the horse's mouth, because who better than Asha ji would actually say multiple stories and how true the person was to his job and to his craft, that he would play a tune to her.
Cinema. And I went there, and it was this wonderful cinema with a fountain in the lobby, and I think it was the first time from the sheltered enclave that Cuff Parade is, Piya Tu Ab To Aja, and my eyes fell out. And then suddenly 2 reels later there was Aruna Irani doing Charti Javani. 2 reels later, Asha Parekh with a lampshade on her head said Kaisi Phasi. And I went home wondering what had hit me. It was 91, I was a child. And I was in love with all these 3 ladies. It was only 2 weeks later when we went to the Liberty Cinema for the premiere of a film called Aagale Lag Ja, where Sharmila Tagore in orange harem pants did Vada Karo Nahi Chodogi. And I said, she's copying Helen, yeah. And then a week later there was Rampur Ka Lakshman, and there was Padma Khanna doing. And then I had to connect the dots, and I said, it's all the same person doing the music. And though I thought I was in love with Helen and Padma Khanna and Sharmila Tagore and Asha Parekh, actually I fell in love with R.D. Burman. And the moment I saw R.D. Burman on the poster, I used to go and see the film. All of them. I didn't like Gulzar so much, he didn't allow him to use the drums. I said, what is he doing here? Why aren't we doing things that we can do? But there were gems. I went to see, my father finally said, boss, you go and see movies here. We see one a month. This business of seeing one film every week, we can't do. So I went by myself and sat in the stalls at Roxy Cinema, and I saw R.D. Burman's, the only film with Devanand and Sharmila Tagore. It was called Ye Gulistan Hamara. And there was wonderful music, and nobody's heard of the film. and I still listen to it even today. I'm lucky that I got that legacy. I'm lucky that, well, I'm very unlucky that I didn't work with Pancham Da, but I think the musical legacy that I got in 1971, 72 onwards kept me instead, whether it was Patthar Ke Phool, whether it was Raju Ban Gaya Gentleman, whether it was Dil Vil Pyar Vyar, which was a tribute to R.D. Burman, whether it was even my English film, Everybody Says I'm Fine, where I went all the way to San Francisco and blackmailed Carlos Santana to play the lead guitar in the title song without charging me money for it. I think I was truly blessed. And I think all of us are truly blessed. I think it is a pity that I can't remember any of the songs from any of the films this year or last year. But I can remember every song in every single R.D. Burman movie. And that's 5,000 plus songs. So you can imagine how amazing this man must have been. Thank you, R.D. Burman, and thank you, Brahma.
Managerial things that one needs to learn, like Shantanu said, ki someone in him must be selling that tune or this whole craft or that whole 5 minute of madness, which is very difficult for most of us, which is why I think we all fail in some manner, but I think Dada sort of, really succeeded, so hats off.
Was that when you hear a Pancham Da song, you hear the environment. Every time, this was like when I was a kid, 71, 72, 73. Every time I heard a song, there used to be Vivid Bharati back then, and we used to hear the song, and I used to kind of imagine, oh, there must be this happening, there must be a hero and a heroine, and they must be dancing in the mountains, or it must be very cold. You have a certain visualization when you hear a piece of music. And every time I would, if I happened to see the film, it was exactly the way I had almost, 19-20 ka farak hota tha, but exactly very close to how I had visualized it. So he had a way of bringing in the environment somehow, work the music around it in such a way that it was, there was this song, it turned out to be a song where a guy is singing on the stage, and there's no heroine, but there's Amitabh Bachchan in the movie, and it's from a movie called Bane.
Exploring R.D. Burman as a human being, as a musician, and unraveling his genius with the help of quotes from everyone, and he had taken my inputs in the documentary as well. And basically he was a rebel. मतलब उसका वो दम मारो दम का एक लाइन है, दुनिया ने हम सब की परवाह करें क्यों. He dared to defy convention. He was basically a rebel. So the best part is, whenever I used to go for recordings at Film Center, he used to always sit below no smoking and smoke. ये उनकी खासियत थी. वहाँ पर लिखा गया था no smoking, lungs at work. तो पंचम मिश्र से, अरे उनको पता नहीं हमारा जीनियस एट वर्क है, तो लंग्स की बात कर रहे हैं वो लोग. I'll give you a small example of his. He was excellent at punch lines. पंचम नाम था उनका, पंच. So punch lines के लिए उनका बहुत ये था. I remember during the last 93 में, about 15 days before he passed away, he dropped me in his car. And in those days I didn't have a car, so he used to मेरे साथ मजाक करते थे वो. And his favorite was giving galis.
Everyone, first of all, big hi to all the people, my seniors, my colleagues, everyone. Of course, I am not too quite clued into how much of effort Ramanand has made in this, but I've heard so much about your documentaries. I haven't seen them, and people from my fraternity always talk about it कि मतलब जैसे इंतहाई कोई बहुत ही मन से बनाई हुई कोई चीज़ है. और इस शाहकार को मैंने देखा नहीं अभी तक. आई एम रियली सॉरी फॉर दैट. पर इसलिए मैंने कुछ कहा नहीं पहले, क्योंकि जब कुछ पता ही ना, ब्लेस यू, पता ही ना हो तो फिर इंसान उसके बारे में ज़्यादा बोलता हो ठीक नहीं लगता. पंचम दा के बारे में मैं अभी इतना सत ने कह दी इतनी अच्छी बातें. आई एम लकी दैट आई मेट हिम. I was about to get a chance to sing for him.
और पर किस्मत की बात होती है, मेरी किस्मत में नहीं था उनके साथ में काम कर पाना, क्योंकि मैं उस समय दिल्ली में चला गया था कुछ 3-4 महीने के लिए पैसे कमाने के लिए, पैसे ख़त्म हो गए थे यहाँ पे। एंड देन आई केम बैक, तो संपत जी याद है, मधुर ध्वनि स्टूडियो के संपत जी, मधुर ध्वनि होता है, सो ही कॉल मी अप एंड सर, अरे तेरी किस्मत ख़राब है, तेरे को पंचम दा ढूंढ रहे थे। फिर मुझे मालूम पड़ा कि 1942 लव स्टोरी के लिए ढूंढ रहे थे, और मैंने वो रिकॉर्डिंग मेरे आंखों के सामने होती हुई देखी है। पंचम दा ने कुमार शानू जी को एक दिन पहले वापस भेज दिया था, क्योंकि वो दाढ़ी बड़ी बनी थी उसकी वजह से। तो हम बड़ी उम्मीद में थे कि शायद आए ना कुमार शानू जी, फिर आ गए, मेरे सामने गाना उन्होंने याद किया। वहीं पर मैंने पहली बार जावेद अख्तर जी को देखा, और मुझे याद है मेरे सामने उन गाना सिखा रहे थे, एक लड़की को देखा तो ऐसा लगा, कभी डिटेल में बात बताऊंगा। एनीवे दिस इट्स ग्रेट, आई ऑलवेज फील देयर इज अ वेरी नाइस वर्ड इन फिलोसफी कॉल्ड टेलियोलॉजी। टेलियोलॉजी मीन्स हर चीज़ का, हर इंसान का अल्टीमेट पर्पस। आपकी टेलियोलॉजी ये थी, तो इसलिए दिस वाज योर टेलियोलॉजी। ऑल द बेस्ट एंड कीप इट अप।
Thank you very much, and I think it's
अच्छी डॉक्यूमेंट्रीज बनाई हैं पंचम दा पे और जगजीत सिंह जी पे। आप वेब सीरीज जो कर रहे हैं इसके बारे में मुझे भी बताइए, मुझे भी नहीं पता था।
सो वेब सीरीज़ का आइडिया ये है कि इतनी सारी चीज़ें पंचम दा के बारे में निकल के सामने आते रहती है, जब हम उनके गानों को बार बार सुनते हैं, देखते हैं, 10 लोगों से बातें होती है, कि एक प्लेटफॉर्म कुछ मुझे लगा कि ऐसा होना चाहिए जहाँ पे आप जाओ और पंचम दा के बारे में आप बरसों आप बस घुसते रह सकते हो उनके म्यूज़िक के अंदर।
तो आप लोगों से बातचीत करेंगे, मतलब कैसे?
मैं लोगों से बातचीत करूंगा और कुछ नए ड्रामेटिक मोमेंट्स भी मैं निकालूंगा। जैसे अब उनके जो डॉक्टर थे लंदन बेस्ड, उस समय मैं हार्ट का जो किया था, तो उन्होंने उनको जाकर के एक अपने सीडीज़ दिए, वो कैसेट से सीडी वाला पीरियड था।
अच्छा।
So he came back next day, gave him the CDs and said कि पंचम दा सॉरी मैं ओल्ड स्कूल अभी भी हूँ, मैं कैसेट से ग्रेजुएट नहीं किया हूँ, अगर कुछ कैसेट्स हो तो दे देना आप। तो उन्होंने बोला अच्छा ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं। अगले दिन he went to his place for a drink and he went with a cassette player, with a CD player. Yes.
Oh.
Those CDs he gave back. So these are moments which give you an insight into the person, that he was not a person who would go and give him a cassette. You would go and give him CDs. So that's, and I think you, I, and 20 other people around, we are just perpetrators of his legacy.
You're the one who's done the best.
Hi,
how are you? बोलिए।
उनका जन्मदिन है।
हाँ जी।
आप कोई विशेष बात उनकी शेयर करना चाहेंगे?
मैं लकी भी हूँ कि मैं उनसे मिल पाया था, अनलकी भी हूँ कि मेरे हाथ से आता हुआ काम चला गया। मुझे मौका मिलने वाला था क्योंकि मैं उस समय दिल्ली चला गया था और 3 महीने के लिए मैं रहा वहाँ पे। तो उस समय संपत जी मधुर ध्वनि के रिकॉर्डिस्ट थे, उन्होंने मेरा गाना सुनाया था इनको। तो उन्होंने कहा पंचम दा को तेरे गाना याद हो गया। तो जब मैं उनसे फर्स्ट टाइम मिला तो उन्होंने बोला अरे वही है क्या, दीवाना हो गया ये दिल पहली बार, मेरे गाना आगे बता रहे मुझे। तो मैं इतना लकी हूँ कि उनको मेरा गाना याद था, बट जब वो मुझे ढूंढ रहे थे तो मैं उनको नहीं मिल पाया। तो वो एक पर कोई बात नहीं, सबकी हर चीज़ में हम प्लस पॉइंट से देखते हैं। द म्यूजिक स्टेज, द लेगेसी स्टेज, द कैरेक्टर स्टेज। उनके साथ में काम करने वाले बहुत सारे लोग मेरे आज बहुत नज़दीकी दोस्त हैं। राजू सिंह उनमें से सबसे ऊपर है और वो मुझे उनके बारे में बातें बताते रहते हैं। सो आई एम कनेक्टेड टू हिम नेवरदलेस।
मुझे एक सवाल है मेरा आपसे, क्योंकि आप खुद एक सिंगर हैं, आपके ढेरों सारे गाने हिट हुए, जैसा कि हमने एबी में भी देखा। पंचम दा इस तरह के सिंगर थे कि जो एक्टर जिस तरह का होता था उसकी टोन में वो गाने कंपोज करते थे, जैसा कि राजेश खन्ना जी की बात करें, हमें दिखाया गया। क्या प्रेजेंट टाइम में इस तरह की चीज़ें नहीं हो सकती, और अगर होंगी तो क्या वो हिट होगी? माना कि समय की डिमांड है, तो आप अगर बता सकते।
नहीं, पहले की खास बात ये थी जो मैं और भी शांतुर मोहतरे भी बात कर रहे थे कि उस समय सिटिंग्स में एक्टर्स या बाकी लोग जाते थे उंगली करने के लिए नहीं, समझे, एडवाइस देने के लिए नहीं, संगीत सिखाने के लिए नहीं जाते थे, संगीत सीखने के लिए, उस माहौल का मजा लेने के लिए, अपने इनपुट्स देने के लिए जाते थे। अभी हर किसी को म्यूजिक में से है, म्यूजिक आता हो या नहीं आता हो, आई थिंक दैट्स गुड बट आई थिंक दिस इज नॉट फाइन एंड इट्स लो सोसाइटीज। तो अभी ऐसा मामला है, इसलिए आप कभी भी उस जमाने में अगर आर डी बर्मन के आप जगह पे जाएंगे तो वहाँ पर उनके बराबरी के लोग उनके बराबरी की बातें करेंगे, उनके जो लोग अज्ञानी हैं वो बैठकर ज्ञान नहीं देंगे वहाँ पे, इसलिए ये फर्क है। अरे नहीं, मैं तो बहुत दिखता हूँ, क्या कर रहे हो? इधर थोड़ी खूब दिखता हूँ मैं, जिनको दिखना चाहिए उनको दिखता हूँ मैं।
इंडियन आइडल में इस बार मिस करेंगे हम आपको।
हाँ, वो मैं इतना मिस करता पिछली बार, लेकिन हर बार ऐसा नहीं हो पाता, पॉसिबल होता। एनीवे, आज हम बात कुछ और करें। हाँ जी,
अगर आप बता सकें
कि मेरी कुछ वेब सीरीज नहीं, मैं शॉर्ट फिल्म मैंने किया,
शॉर्ट फिल्म
करेंगे बाद अपन। थैंक यू।
यदि आपके शहर में आसपास कोई घटना दुर्घटना या किसी तरह की खबर है तो जी न्यूज़ 18 पर वीडियो सहित पूरी डिटेल देख सकते हैं और हमारे जी न्यूज़ 18 को सब्सक्राइब करना ना भूलें।
आप देख रहे हैं जी न्यूज़ 18, हर खबर का सच यानी पूरा सच।